What's a deeply unsettling fact?
These answers will be lifted and reposted online as a clickbait article, making money off other people's writing for almost no effort.
The 90s is approaching the 30-year mark.
For those of you with children, you only have about 1,000 weekends with them before they are adults.
You might already own the clothes in which you'll be buried.
Every picture you pose for could be the one used in your obituary.
I feel like this should be its own sub-R, deeply unsettling facts.
You aren't guaranteed old age.
There are countless monstrous alien-like creatures living on your eyeball right now.
At some point in the future, one user in this thread will be alive and everyone else will be dead.
There is a fungus that releases spores that allows the spore to control ants. It then proceeds to make the ant kill itself.
There are at least 8 nuclear weapons that are known to be missing.
Without proper soil tests and foundation depths, your house is at risk of moving and cracking.
Once I said hi to my neighbor and she replied with like hi, and she walked 50 meters further and hit by a car. You never know how random and to how random people your last words will be. I wouldn't want my last words to be, add me some mayonnaise to that, darling.
If you are a certain distance from a nuclear explosion, you won't be killed immediately, but instead, you'll get third-degree burns throughout your entire body. This kills your nerves so fast that it's completely painless.
I wouldn't call it deeply unsettling, but I'm disturbed by the fact that I only get a small amount of time to do stuff I think is worthwhile and figure out how this ant farm we live in works, but every day I have to lie down and step outside existence for 6 to 8 hours. The world keeps going, I keep getting older, and yes, my brain is still processing things while I sleep, but I feel that it is a massive waste of time. If I don't sleep, then my mental and physical health start to decline. The process of falling asleep and waking up also disturbs the project or train of thought that was underway during the day, requiring even more time to get back on track. Meanwhile, dolphins are out there staying up 24/7, which is why they are smarter than us and will be leaving the planet first.
In 1983, the world came closest to a full-scale nuclear war between Russia and the US. Back then, Russia's nuclear early warning system reported that a missile had been launched from the United States, followed by up to 5 more. Stanislav Petrov, the duty officer at the command center at that time, was tasked with observing the satellite early warning network and notifying his superiors of any impending nuclear missile attack against the Soviet Union. If notification was received from the early warning systems that inbound missiles had been detected, the Soviet Union's strategy was an immediate and compulsory nuclear counterattack against the United States. Petrov dismissed the warning as a false alarm. He deduced that a first-strike nuclear attack by the United States was likely to involve hundreds of simultaneous missile launches in order to disable any Soviet means of a counterattack. His suspicion was confirmed when no missiles arrived at the proposed time of impact. Later, it was determined that the false alarms were caused by a rare alignment of sunlight on high-altitude clouds and the satellite's Molniya orbits, an error later corrected by cross-referencing a geostationary satellite. So the only reason why civilization as we know it didn't cease to exist in 1983 was the level-headed behavior of a single man.
Every time another car passes you from the other direction on a 2-lane highway, you're literally inches away from death.
After you die, everyone else's life just carries on. Your doctors and nurses, for example, will go home that evening to their partner's children, have dinner, maybe a beer or glass of wine, enjoy a TV show and go to bed. And you'll be dead.
The largest known galaxy in the universe, IC 1101, is a billion light-years away from Earth and *6 million light-years *y. Edit. Okay, one more. Every cell is considered a life form. You quite literally are a community of billions of life forms living and dying every day so you can continue. And your soul is the zeitgeist of this community.
Sometimes I wonder just how close I've come to being killed over the years. For example, a few years back I was leaving a friend's house party and was about to head out the door when I realized I couldn't find my keys. Took about 3 or 4 minutes to find before I went on my way. Fast forward just a few miles down the road, there is a huge pileup of cars and wreckage with no cops or ambulance on the scene yet. Once I got out and went to talk to some involved and help out, they mentioned that the crash happened only a few minutes ago. Really makes you think.
Brain aneurysms can happen whenever, wherever. A dead body moves a lot and makes noises because of gas and air build-ups. They fart, they burp, they clear their throats, they sigh and moan. They twitch, they roll their heads and shoulders. They open their eyes and their limbs twitch. This can happen a couple of days after death has occurred. I work at the Department of Pathology and a college if mine was slapped on the butt by a corpse a couple of weeks ago.
The first firefighter killed responding to the 9/11 attacks was struck dead in the courtyard by a falling body. 2 people killed simultaneously, one on his way in, the other on their way out.
There are a huge amount of illnesses that aren't curable or even treatable. We have this idea that we go to a doctor, they find out what's wrong with us and then fix us. There are many illnesses that make doctors throw up their hands because they don't even know what is causing us to be unwell, and people are often ill for years, or life.
I test schools' water for lead. Millions of children across the United States, many people here included, are being exposed to absurdly high levels of lead. This leads to behavior and learning problems, lower IQ, hyperactivity, slowed growth, hearing problems, and anemia. If not for yourself, for the sake of your children, please use filters at home.
The entire universe outside our galaxy could have completely disappeared over 20,000 years ago and we still wouldn't know it yet. Our view of the universe is actually what it looked like anywhere from thousands to billions of years ago with no way to see what it actually looks like right now. Imagine if you looked out your front window and saw your yard as it was 6 months ago, neighbor's house across the street a year ago, and houses a block or two away as they were several years ago. Also off in the distance you see the glaciers from the last ice age. That's what it's like looking out at the universe.
When you die, hearing is the last sense to go.
Serial killers have been known to keep captured victims alive for years or even decades. The 1961 atomic bombing accident of North Carolina. The U.S. Air Force came dramatically close to detonating an atom bomb over North Carolina that would have been 260 times more powerful than the device that devastated Hiroshima. 2 Mark 39 hydrogen bombs were accidentally dropped over Goldsboro, North Carolina on the 23rd of January 1961. The bombs fell to Earth after a B-52 bomber broke up in midair, and one of the devices behaved precisely as a nuclear weapon was designed to behave in warfare. Its parachute opened, its trigger mechanisms engaged, and only one low-voltage switch prevented untold carnage. Of the 4 safety mechanisms designed to prevent unintended detonation, 3 failed to operate properly. When the bomb hit the ground, a firing signal was sent to the nuclear core of the device, and it was only that final, highly vulnerable switch that averted calamity. I get goosebumps every time I read about it.
You may never know if you've gone insane.
That right now, this very moment, someone is trapped against their will, probably suffering at the hands of someone else, and wondering if anyone out there is thinking about them or remembers them.
If you become an astronaut and are in the ice when an apocalyptic asteroid hits, you could be among the last few humans left alive with a limited oxygen supply, limited food supplies, and no external assistance in returning home or surviving.
Consider subscribing.